Hello.
Hello, Johannes, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Everything is good. Haven't seen
Good.
you since Bloodstock.
It's been a while.
How is everything? How was the festival season for you guys?
That the whole August was actually really nice. Like because that is how we ended the whole hunter-gatherer thing. And because so much of that period was spent online, we did a live stream, we toured, but I got sick with the cancer, we had to move like everyone else.
Yeah,
But in August, it was this concoction of a lot of cool things happening all at once. So you kind of get fed like, okay, some this like it led to something. We exist, like so. The Bloodstock show, for instance, like you mentioned, was a big one. But we did, I would dare to say, our best show, biggest show for sure in Germany so far at Summer Breeze. That was important. We headlined a bit in Germany also. That felt special. It was just like we just played a lot of festivals when it was dark outside, which is a good sign in your career in metal that things are going the right way. And then of course the last three shows of the Hunter Gatherer era was opening for Iron Maiden in Brazil. So so just capped off beautifully. Like August was special.
yeah. And you guys came a long way since opening for Avenged Sevenfold.
Mm.
I remember when you were almost unknown back then. And I think that, at least for me, that tour put you guys on the map, and you guys gave one hell of a show. And how did you feel that Avatar, since that tour until now, how do you feel about the band? Do you feel like you guys conquered, a lot of people, and there's still much more to to conquer anyway?
Yeah, but it's funny that tour, it cannot be overstated how much that meant at the time. Like because we had done a lot before that too, of course, here and there, but and that's all you can do as a band. If people would ask for advice, for instance, what can you do to make it, or let's define make it, but at least get as far as we have. It's like you have to do whatever things you can do, and in the beginning that would be like basically nothing, but okay, you know play in that dirty basement somewhere. You just have to do, because there's nothing more to say to it than one thing leads to another. And because there's a bunch of circumstances and a reason why that Avenged Sevenfold tour happened then. It is because number one, we got lucky, like the singer from Disturbed solo band, he had to cancel.
Yeah.
So that is why we got the chance. And we were finally working with the right people that were able to, like, hey, take these guys, to say that to someone. And because they were able to say that, and the reason we got to work with these guys who could say that, that is connected to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, to another thing. And it's just, but at some point that thing happens, because it's not correct to say that was a big break, because we're not a pop band. We don't break. We slowly climb upwards like everyone and usually do in metal. You build respect and songs grow over time, and because it's not a trend per se, then songs keep on living. We don't need a hit in that same way. If we get it, it's fine. Please enter Sandman. Why not? But what I'm getting at is, it made a huge difference, that show, because like you said, then more people noticed us. We were ready to do a good enough job that it was worth noticing us. And from then on, we could kind of, like, for the first, because first it's like, how do you get booked, anywhere? And then you start but now we were kind of bookable. So like, now we can play for 100 people there, and 100 turns to 200 to 300 to 400, so it was so important.
Yeah.
And then we are the same journey. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And, Dance Devil Dance, you guys start working on this record before the pandemic, or was already during the pandemic?
During, but early. It was, for me, it started like, because we we are 5 guys in the band who finish a song, who, so to speak, but we are 3 who start songs.
Yeah.
So it's me, Jonas, and Tim really that come up, and they had a tougher time in the beginning, I think, to get into it, to really feel like we were making an album and find momentum because of the pandemic. I kind of started like, was this sense of, oh, I have all this extra time now. So I made a little folder on the computer and I named it Solo. Okay, now I can do whatever I want. But as soon as something in there sounded good enough, or like my favorite solo work was Avatar work, you know, like so it quickly turned into that, oh, I guess we're making an album. And I kind of had, not constantly through the pandemic, but a couple of periods where I was pretty manic in writing, actually, for good and bad. I guess to a huge degree, just a way of processing the bullshit and, you know, and all of that. But at the same time, it was important to not make up. It's not a pandemic album. I think a couple of songs are shaped by that, but it was important to keep your world big, because in the reality, the world became kind of small there, of course, you know, compared to what we used to, and just what people you saw, what places you went to, and all this. So but I made a conscious effort to keep my world big when writing. So that is something that's not just about face masks, or we're out of toilet paper, or don't sneeze on me, or I kill you, or whatever, you know.
And what you do remember the first song that you had actually finished for this record?
Sorry, which song that was, or
that was finished? What was the first one that was absolutely complete when you?
Good question. I think because you can have songs that get 90% finished, and then they stay 90% forever, and other songs get finished in between. But I think one. I will actually open here just to look at the list of songs of those. I think Hazmat Suit was really early in it, and it's also one of those that one is probably one of the that are the most fed by the sense of hopelessness when it came to the just how we humans handled going through this together, and just how much worse, and the big picture, the angst of looking at the world at the time. You know, Hazmat Suit has the most of that inside of it, I think, of all songs. So it's, if there's one song that is a pandemic song, it's Hazmat Suit. So I think that one was really early, to be again 90% done.
Yeah.
But then that was one that we also struggled with the last 10% until the end of the recording session.
Yeah. Did you normally, you know, have problems trying to finish a song? You know, you get to the point where you're just working, and it's not going anywhere. It's just like, okay, it's finished.
Yeah. If we don't get anywhere, like I think it's like, okay, you just have to put it away. And this is this impossible thing to know until hindsight. Because there's times when you have to actually work really hard at a song or anything, you know, in life, but where it's frustrating, where you don't solve anything, but you just keep going, and oh, there it is, you know. And sometimes you have to stop and put something away and try later.
Yeah.
But this is such a, you know, there's definitely songs that you put us away too fast, and then it takes years when, like, wait a minute, that was good. Why didn't we? Oh, okay, let's finish this one. Or you work on them for too long and you kind of ruin them, and you have to put them away anyway at the end. But this is hard. But usually, with Hazmat Suit, I think there's a good kind of hard when you want something and someone in a band wants something else, and you disagree a bit.
Yeah.
But then there's work happening. Then there's a bit of friction, and you can pull it in different directions, and then you find out what it needs, you know, what it needs to be. That's the whole thing of the collective way we write. That we write collectively. Part of that is at times a bit painful, you know, but it's that's fine. That's, you know, so almost actually on this album, there was a while there where like, you motherfuckers, you're agreeing with me too much now. I expect to fight about something soon, you know? Then we didn't fight much at all, really, but they're just like, don't be scared of friction now, you know? The friction is fine.
Yeah.
You know.
Because when there's obviously some bands, some artists, they like to work, you know, they are the leader of the band. They like to, you know, it's their way or the highway, as they say it. But with you guys, it has to be a collective, you know, effort.
Yeah, I mean, of course, then it can naturally happen. Like if I come with a song and have done a lot on it, then many times, or it's also true for Tim or Jonas, that many times it still kind of tends to maybe end up very similar to that what the original guy had in mind, but there's a process of feedback or challenges happening along the way. Maybe, you know, it's a bit different for all three of us, like, because, you know, if they say, you know, that thing doesn't really work, and I say, yeah, but I did it for a reason, for this and that, then it's like, okay, but then I have to make that version that has that reason good enough so they cannot question it, you know. So there's a challenge there. Or then you have, in the case of Tim, like on the song Violence No Matter What, on the choruses there's a very simple, almost black metal or whatever guitar kind of in the background, an extra like noisy lead guitar thing that he did a super great simple thing on a demo that he kept working on that song, changing. And at some point, and then the feedback is, and then that part he played it slightly different each time when he was re-recording and just throwing ideas around, where you go to a point like, hey man, you used to do this differently. What? I did? Yeah, that thing that was, it's way simpler, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, just give that feedback to it. It's like, wait, like this? Yeah, 16th notes, tremolo picking, like, oh, this is much better. Thanks, Johannes. No, it was your idea. Like, it's you did that to begin with. So, you know, it's just, it can work in so many different ways but ultimately you might, if depending, I'm giving you a very long answer because I'm thinking of there's so many different versions of this, but sometimes Jonas writes, he didn't say, I wrote a song. He says, I have some riffs. And if he has some riffs and they're great, and then I want to sing on these riffs, then I have to kind of put together a song out of the riffs. And then a lot of my vision feeds into that, you know, but sometimes he has a song, you know, and then the fucking around tends to lean more to what he originally said, you know, while if he had some other riffs, then it's almost like my remix version might be what the starting point of what the song is becoming, you know.
Yeah.
But and it's so different from song to song.
And speaking of the Violence No Matter What, it's a duet with Lzzy Hale. Quite a surprise, you know, I'm not surprised. She has like an amazing voice anyway. And probably Hailstorm are one of my favorite bands at the moment. How did it come about that you guys realized, okay, it's going to be a duet? Lzzy Hale, how did that?
Well, it starts with that. It starts with this song, and it starts with me writing vocals on this song, and kind of like the first idea is the thing in the beginning, the call and response part, right? And immediately there, okay, so lots of two people singing, and of course we have Hendrik in the band, and he does a lot of backup vocals, and also Tim, but that kind of higher stuff is more Hendrik. So starting there, but then kind of also growing into, okay, but now it's a lot of, because then I start to really harmonize all the verses, really like Simon and Garfunkel shit, and getting to that point, then it's kind of like, well, maybe we should ask someone, and maybe because we we are, you know, because we are five guys, a sausage party, and I was trying to think what that would be in Portuguese, but I went to Italian, fiesta la salsiccia, but
it's very similar.
But we are a sausage party, so immediately one sound, one quality that no matter how hard we try, we won't be able to bring. There is a female voice, so already that, and then male or female, Lzzy is one of the best singers in rock and roll and metal of our time.
Yeah.
I think to an extent where people, it should maybe be talked about even more. I know it is, or it should be, but because she could have, with that voice, she could be a pop star as well, you know.
Yeah.
But lucky for us, she does good music,
Yeah.
and she can go so heavy, because that's the thing. There's a kinship between us, because we did a bit of touring with Hailstorm, and I think if you look at Avatar, you see metal first, but I think but you get also that undercurrent of rock and roll, of something else, you know, in that. And if you look at Hailstorm, I think it's fair to say that you think rock and roll first. It's a hard rock band, but there's so much metal, like especially live, you know, because they go hard. It's hard rock, fucking hard rock, you know. And so that gap is very easy to bridge, you know, between us and them in that sense. And you know, just those memories of when we've been playing festivals together. We were in Mexico City right the year before the pandemic, 2,000 meters above sea level. I can't breathe, I want to die, it's super hard. Vince Neil's also played that day. I kind of feel like I'm Vince Neil, you know. It's terrible. And then Hailstorm are playing, and she's just, you know, just killing it, destroying me and everyone else there. Like, she's just that damn good. So, you know, great people. Also respect them, that they are truly a family, that band, you know, which we can relate to and appreciate when it's like that. And so that's that kinship. Like, we like when bands actually like each other. Not every band does, but they do, very much so. We like them, they like us, and great singer. And she said yes immediately, so very easy.
Oh, that's good. You know, I saw them with Alter Bridge and WVH, and I mean, I had seen them early in February on a like headline tour, and they just, you know, they absolutely destroy everything. They're just that damn good. Anyway, and on this record, there's also a song, "On the Beach," which I felt was kind of some irony going on that song. It doesn't seem like going to be jolly happy going to the beach.
No, exactly. It's actually a book title, and I forget what the author is called, but it's a book I found in my parents' bookshop. Neville Shute, I guess you pronounce his name. It's so it's from the 60s, and it's Cold War, and the nuclear war happens, you know, and everybody sends the rockets everywhere, so everyone dies. And all that is left are the people. Australia is left. But they know, because the poisonous cloud, the radioactive fallout, will mean that they will die soon. And it's just life there, you know, like this naval officer and his family and people. Everybody gets drunk the first week, then the second week everybody gets married and go to church, like all the different ways of handling it. And just seeing that, very apocalyptic, you know. And it's hard not to be apocalyptic from time to time when you look at the world, you know. So it's that kind of, so that's why, look at us, we made it to the end.
Yeah,
and that's the end, you know. So very much I guess a sarcastic song, absolutely.
Yeah, and obviously the title track, "Dance Double Dance," you guys got the video for it, a bit gory at times. A bit schizo as well, you know. Got that circus insanity. What was the idea, the concept for, you know, for the song and for the video as well?
Well, for the song, it really becomes a mission statement, and also a way of having fun with. Like, I have the short and silly version explanation, I guess, is during the pandemic, me and my wife did realize that everything we thought and felt when we were 14 years old was absolutely correct. Meaning that, you know, Satan is back in business. And by the more serious, like, Satan as a symbol, like, you know, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in a fucking thing, but I still, at the same time, acknowledge the power of symbols, the powers of rituals. We do these things all the time, whether we think of it or not. And I also a different understanding of what religion can mean and what spirituality can be. Without the spirits, without the hocus pocus, it's still a perspective of the world and how you spend time inside your own brain, I guess, you know. So there's something to be said about all these things without actually believing in bullshit.
Yeah.
So, and when it comes to these different symbols and the power they carry, and what I think is right in the world and wrong in the world, Satan just made a whole lot of sense. And then during the pandemic, also, I tried to, for exercise, run a bit further, you know, and if you do that, you can get runner's high. Some people do. And there was this combination of, I guess it was in summer, nice and sunny, and I'm having these headphones on, listening to loud rave music, like boom, 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 running, and pulse is way up there, and I get high, and I'm convinced that I am Satan, which is also in the lyrics, but again, in a very symbolic version of what Satan can mean, and I think for metal at large, and for me in life, you know, questioning authority, being the adversary to the status quo, all these different things that Satan comes to mean in a world where clearly the other side is not what it claims to be, you know, where the bullshit of even just the 10 commandments of honor thy father and thy mother. Talk with my mom about this. She agrees with me. Yeah, but some fathers and mothers are shit. And also, I mean, I love my parents. They're great. I honor them, you know, but that's not default. And the child didn't ask to be born. It was the parents who did the dirty deed and, you know, put them in this world. So it doesn't go that way. And authority doesn't go the way. And, you know, gods, kings chosen by gods. And that way of seeing it, that solidity, you know, just doesn't fit my politics. It doesn't fit my worldview, that form of authority and divine right and stuff. And I think Satan as a symbol goes against all that. And it's a symbol for anything. Like, I feel like because of what, if we use religious language for it, you know, which then we can question if we need to do that at all. But if we do, then suddenly, and we look what the institutions, the organized version stands for, then suddenly everything, then it starts to feel like, to me, like feminism is satanistic as well. All these things that I feel like, you know, that I could get behind, kind of in the perspective where I'm standing now, fits down that lane, at least for the time being. It's like what I was saying, look at the Middle East. There's one guy who hasn't had a chance to really try to run the place, because they're done with God and Allah and oil companies and everything. The one guy who hasn't had a chance yet is Satan. What if Satan gets to run the Middle East? I think that would solve a lot. You know, so those kind of thoughts. And then you have fun with it. Then you go into just the occult, and then you make a dance party, because that's the devil part. Then you have the dance part, and that's just the whole idea of the album. It's heavy metal is rock and roll. Rock and roll is dance music. You have a drummer, you have a bass player. That means you should have a groove, and it should be a groove that makes people move. And even if banging your head is also dancing, the mosh pit is also a dance. Crowd surf, stage dive, wall of death, it's all dancing. Whatever you feel you need to do with your body to the music. It's our job to create music that makes you want to do things with your body or to your body, you know, make someone pregnant, lift heavy shit at the gym, you know, try drugs or get sober. Maybe this is music that makes you stop doing drugs, you know, whatever, but it's just like body music. That's the idea.
Cool. And you know, you guys, after the album release, are embarking on a European tour. You're going to bring Veil of Maya and a couple of other bands along with you. What can you expect as far as a live show? Is something new you guys got prepared?
Yeah, there are some specifics that are definitely a new touch. And I think like the overall approach now, I'm really excited about. Number one, you know, of course, there are certain songs that we will always and forever play for people because they really want to hear those. But, you know, if we have the structure on where certain songs come in a set list has changed, and that immediately changes the song itself and the energy of what you do with it, you know. So that's a big deal to us. And then it's just this balance of the theatrical things, special, you know, crazy shit, the clown show, the circus. We have some new stuff like that happening, balanced with again, space for the rock and roll, space to connect with the audience. I think we have the perfect balance of these energies, because Avatar is theatrical as an adjective, but we're not theater, the noun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can't just what is it? What was the song? It's not, everything is not on script. Everything is not on grid. I relate more to stand-up comedy or a magic show or professional wrestling or something where you work with the audience.
Yeah.
Compared to if it's ballet, opera, theater, musicals, that is really I like that too.
Yeah.
But what we're doing, you need also space for things to be different, you know?
Yeah, and
Lisbon feels different than Madrid, and Madrid feels different than Helsinki. So.
Yeah, and you talked about the crowds, and the crowd tend to react differently to different songs.
Yeah.
So you're talking about professional wrestling. I'm a big fan of that anyway, and I know sometimes when like you got the wrestler there in the middle of the ring doing a promo, if it's not working, he has to turn it around. If the crowd is not reacting, he has to make something to change that. And
exactly.
I think with a band, it's the same way. Probably, if the crowd is not reacting, okay, maybe we have to do something different here.
Exactly.
And on the spot.
And this art form, look at how, because I love to watch wrestling up until a certain point. Now I like to listen to podcasts where people talk about old wrestling, because it's the old guys, they knew how to do this in the promo, but also in the match.
Yeah.
To take them on that journey, to make, to tell a story with their bodies and all that. And I related to the sense that we tell a story with our songs, which is really more about, molding your energy,
Yeah.
There's that, how you build anticipation before the show starts, then what kind of song do you grab you by the balls with first, the ace is high or whatever. And then we need to control, there are all these different emotions that we can play with, that you have, that we want to come out of you, like if we want you to scream and laugh and cry and come and do all these things. But if we just make you come, we can't make you come immediately after, but you're probably very sensitive and raw emotionally, so then we're gonna make you cry. You come, you cry, and then you're so broken down that you're ready to laugh.
Yeah.
And from there you get re-energized, and then you can scream and yell and be all that again, and then you come again, and so it's so the dynamics of it.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned more about those things from wrestling than from rock and roll, simply because, again, if you're a fan, I'm sure you've seen all the shoot interviews with old guys that talked about their craft. It's easier to find Jake the Snake or Ric Flair talk about the old days than it is about, when I go to watch Judas Priest, I study. And I watch videos of Halford and I study. I do my homework to it. But there's not so much material with him talking about what he's doing there. The fine things. So you just have to see, you go, holy shit, and then what is that? Oh, it's just the shoulder, Halford's shoulder, but it's just, and the eyes, and all that, and that's it, and then just communicating, and it's but
I think
wrestlers talk more about it.
Yeah, and the eye contact with the crowd is very important. Can be intimidating sometimes.
Once ever. And that was Brazil, because we are there with Iron Maiden, and we are being kids again for the first time since we were teenagers. We're like, oh, please like us, Brazil, because that whole feeling of Iron Maiden, Brazil, it's our tribe. It must be, this is what we dream about. Look, every rehearsal room I ever been to has the Rock in Rio poster. That's right there. Every rehearsal room ever. In Northern Europe, the Rock in Rio posters. It was like, oh shit, we are there now in Brazil, and so I hope they will like us, Kind of. So that was that one time, dude. I'm sorry to see. I'm supposed to jump into the next interview right now. I see. All
right, Johan, thank you very much for your time. I'll see you in Lisbon in
looking
March.
Forward to it. And looking forward to it a lot.
Have a great day and enjoy the tour, and I'll see you in Lisbon. All right.
Very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.